Hey, so about a year ago, I was asked to build a bench from a picture, and I did. It turned out great. It's right here or over here. I don't know. Anyways, I was asked to build this bench again, but my notes, they're not very good. They suck. So hopefully I can figure it out again. Let's do this. I started off this top by finding some random 2x4s and 2x6s and milled them to the same thickness. I roughly cut them out in the size that I was looking for. I did the same thing for the base pieces and roughly cut them to the dimensions I needed. I kept everything a little bit long so I could trim it down to the final dimensions later. I will show this again later on as a progress update, but this is how the design is going to be. I have the two base pieces, the legs, and I'll add supports later on. Back to the bench top. The edges need a little bit of sanding to make some nice glue joints, and then I put them in the clamps. They got a little bit of glue and a nice squeeze. After a little time went by, the glue got a little crusty on the outside, so I scraped it off with a chisel, because why not? And anytime you have a decent saw blade and you're cutting a lot of crappy pine wood, you're going to spend some time cleaning your saw blade. So the whole bench top was too wide to run through my planer, so I glued half of it together and the other half together and scraped off the glue. I put some tape and some CA glue on here to fill up these knots and to make them stable. Then I ran each side through the planer before gluing the two sides together. Got this edge nice and tight. Once I had the two halves of the top glued together, I marked the final width and trimmed it with the track saw. Once the bench top was sanded, I knew the final thickness, so then I knew how long my legs needed to be to end up with the overall height that I needed. So I trimmed each of the legs and then cut the angles on the bases. I always try to use a stop block when multiple parts need to be cut at the same length. Before assembling these parts and making the base, I will need to know the size of the stretcher, so that will be next. So this is going to be my setup to cut the cheeks and shoulders for the stringer. So I've got my dado blade, my dado setup set to the proper height that I want, and then I've got my stop block set. Once this is done being milled up, I'm just going to slide it into my stop block, remove material, and make it so it fits nice into the leg bases. Alright, so we have our top here, which is cut to thickness. Then this is going to be our base, our legs, and our feet. The stringer is going to go across here. So right now what I need to do is make a block to go below and above the stringer to keep it locked in place. So back to the joiner. So this is the leg, and then I'm going to make the blocks out of this piece, and they need to be the same height so they match. I'm going to set my fence to this piece. And then make the cut. With the blocks cut and trimmed to the height that I wanted, I can assemble the base. I wanted the stretcher completely centered, so I laid out some lines and got it centered. After a little mock-up, I was pretty happy with the fit, so I added some glue, screws, and nails, and All right, no screws, just nails and glue. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to lay out the legs on the base. I'll kind of show you what I did. My square, laid it across the base and centered it both sides. And I squared it up and drew the lines. And like on this one, I measured the distance on the domino from the plate to the center of the cutter so I can reference the bottom of the domino on this line to make my cut here. Hopefully it works. All right, so this is how I figured out these cuts. I just kind of took some test cuts at different angles till I figured out that I wanted this to be about 25 degrees. And then I cut this piece at 25 degrees, set up my stop block until I found angle that I needed to make 90. So I set my saw at 0, put my 25 degrees here, and then make this cut straight to make my offsetting angle. And that's gonna give me about what I need for these pieces with some slight adjustments. With the bases assembled and sanded, I added some primer and some caulk to fill the gaps. The next step is some mortises for the tusks. I didn't have this tool last time and I did it all with the chisel. This mortiser makes it much easier. With the mortises done, I needed to make the tusks. Just cut out this piece of plywood at 15 degrees here on the miter saw. Set the fence about to where I want it to finish cutting and see if it works. 15 degrees was too steep. This one's 5 degrees. This guy's upside down right now. I'm gonna cut some slots here and then put screws here into the table or the bench. Gonna use this piece to test the height. I'm gonna use a 4 millimeter domino to cut a slot and try to fit it about here. So this is finally what I'm after. If this is my leg, my base support, and my bench top, screw this here and it's gonna hold it on. And it's gonna go slide side to side as the grain on the bench top gets bigger and smaller. To decide to use some shellac based primer. This should be good for sealing any knots and blemishes from showing through. Painting isn't my specialty or my favorite thing to do, but I keep trying and I keep getting better. At least that's what I keep telling myself. I have some plywood strips on the ceiling in my shop that I hang painter's tape from. It gives me a booth to spray in. I like my Graco 360 sprayer and I also like the ScuffX paint. I did a quick layout to figure out where the Z-clips needed to be screwed to the bench top and then I installed them. Overall, this is a fun build or fun project. I'm a little disappointed I got sick and my beautiful voice sounds so horrible, but I'll leave an outro with a guitar jam I wrote. It's called Black Bench.